Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurizz Aliah binti Zainuddin, and today I will be presenting my final year project proposal summarizing research articles methodology using natural language processing supervised by Madam Zuriati binti Ismail Alias Khori and technologist Nurziatullah Hamimah binti Abdul Hamid. Let's see the index of my presentation today. I will be presenting the research background that includes the problem statement, research questions and objective, research scope, as well as the research significance. Next is the literature review that includes method and related works. Last but not least, the research methodology that holds the research framework, design and flow. Let's dive into the research background first. The first component in the research background is the problem statement. The first issue that came to light with research article methodology is the complexity. Knowing research articles, it is usually longer in length than your average article, and people prefer to read short articles. With the length of the article being long, it may be a bit complex. Thus, it will cause confusion to those reading it. The second issue is the attention span of the readers. As research articles tend to be lengthy, reader will easily lose their interest when reading, as it consumes so much time trying to read alongside understanding the article. The last issue will be incomprehension. Research articles are usually very specific and contains jargon. It also uses a higher level in language use, which may cause lack of understanding to readers. Hence, why the issue surface. Let's move on to the research questions and objective. The first research question is, why would a summarization tool be developed when the article already has a summary of its own? The second research question is, what method is to be utilized in text summarization? And lastly, how can language students achieve the summary of methodology in a short period of time? Next is the research objective. The first objective is to highlight important keywords in research articles methodology. Secondly, it is to utilize the extractive summarization method. And lastly, it is to develop a platform to summarize research articles methodology. Onto the research scope. The research scope is the scope of a study, explains the extent to which the research area will be explored in the work and specifies the parameters within the study will be operating. The method used for this research is both qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative method is based on description, expression in terms of language, rather than numerical values, which is quantitative method that is based on numeric data. The qualitative method revolves around any written articles that may contribute to the research, and the quantitative method is based on the data collected from the Google form that is given to the target audience. Which brings us to the second scope. The target audience for this research are language students, and the chosen setting for this research, which is the last scope, is in university, as language students are more exposed to summarizing in general. Next in line is the research significance, which is why this research is important to begin with. This research is conducted to help language students to better understand the methodology in a research article. Other than that, it is to bring concepts together in a significant way when it comes to summarization. The third and last significant is so that the natural language processing, or as known as NLP, can be applied to solve daily problems. Now, hang on with me as I tell you about the literature review. It may be a bit complicated, but rest assured, you will see the rainbow after the storm. So, my domain will focus on natural language processing, NLP, which is text summarization. It can be roughly divided into two categories, which are extractive and abstractive summarization. For the extractive summarization, the content objects are extracted without any modification in themselves. While for abstractive summarization, usually involves pair paraphrasing of the words and the sentences from the document. Let's move on to the approaches that can be used to remove redundancy. One of the approaches is text rank, which is a graph-based ranking model for text processing, which can be used in order to find the most relevant sentences in text and also to find keywords. Second is LexRank, which uses agent vector centrality on graph to calculate the importance of textual units based on similarity of the units. For learned algorithm, each textual unit is derived by significance factor based on placements and occurrences of frequent words within the unit. Next, LSA, Latent Semantic Analysis. LSA is a technique which is based on SVD, singular value decomposition, on the matrix to estimate the importance of the textual units by constructing terms by units matrix. For the last approach, callback label, or known as KL sum, is based on greedy method approach by adding a sentence to the summary when there is a reduction in KL divergence. This approach can also be an algorithm. Now, I've talked about an algorithm, and let's view the last aspect, related works. Nowadays, text summarization has various paraphrasing tools such as Quillbot and SummarizBot. I know this presentation is getting a bit long, but let me tell you about my research framework, and I will try to keep it short and sweet. There are 3 phases for the framework, and the first phase is a project formulation, which is a process by which one obtains a complete picture about the project without the details. It is only the surface, and the important thing to keep in mind is the domain of the research, and my domain is natural language processing NLP doing text summarization. Moving on to the second phase, which includes the preliminary study, where issues that are related is explored to a proposed evaluation, and in this research, it is the problem statement that I have mentioned earlier in this presentation. Next is the knowledge acquisition, as in keeping in mind newly gained information that can further better the research, and then we move on to data collection and data pre-processing. As the name says, the collected data from the preliminary study and knowledge acquisition, the data is the pre-process where the raw data is turned into useful and efficient data for the research. The last process for the second phase is model design. The name itself is quite self-explanatory. It is the process where the project is designed or sketched to have an initial idea of how it will be done. Are you still with me? We are at the last phase of the framework, which is phase 3, that includes the model development, where the sketch is brought to life and then tested and evaluated, and then the final step is the documentation. These research frameworks are also related with research design, where there are 3 objectives that uses all 3 phases to achieve some deliverables. For example, the first objective is to highlight important keywords in research articles methodology. By using the first phase, which is the project formulation phase, we can obtain the problem statement, research questions, objectives, and scope. Then, using the second phase, which are preliminary study and knowledge acquisition, we can deliver technique, related work, and research significance through different methods and measures. The second objective, however, only uses the second phase. There are data collection and data pre-processing. These phases can obtain deliverables like responses about research articles and data sort for the summary. The third objective is to develop a platform to summarize research articles methodology. This objective can be achieved by using one of the second phase and all 3 in the phase 3. The model, design, and development phases can produce the prototype, while the testing and evaluation, also the documentation phases, produce the final report. Do you see the importance of these phases in order to accomplish all three objectives? Here's a quick research flow of it. With that, it marks the end of my simple and sweet presentation. Thank you for listening.